Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Oklahoma Conference WMS Annual Workshop. So just want to make sure everyone can hear me. So if you can hear me, go ahead and just type into the chat, I can hear you. All right, we got some chats coming in. Awesome, very good. Just always got to make sure technology is working. So with that, before we begin and go through our agenda, I do want to go over some housekeeping items. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Leonelle Thompson, and I serve as the corresponding secretary for the Oklahoma Conference of the Women's Missionary Society. I've had the pleasure of putting together the Zoom, putting together the slideshow for tonight, and then I'll also be your workshop presenter. So, but just wanted to start off with a few housekeeping items. As you know, Zoom is a new ministry for most of us. So everyone is muted at the moment, and so we do want you to participate. And so on the next slide, I'll show you a little bit about how you can do that. You can feel free to turn your video on and off. And so you can see over here if you're called in or if you're on the Zoom itself, so you logged in via the website or via the link on your tablet, desktop, iPhone, or Android device, you should be able to hover at the bottom of the screen and see these different controls. And so these controls will be what will help you either share your video, start your video so we can see everyone. You don't have to do that. It's just an option, but it's always good to just kind of see everyone, check in with everyone. We also have the participants, so you can see how many people are on. So I'm happy to report we have 47 on right now, and I'm pretty sure more will join us later. And then, of course, the chat where you're all typing in that you can hear me and everything. So chat is also where you can ask questions. You can make comments throughout. So those functions are available to you. Also, as a notice, this meeting is being recorded. So if there are people who you know couldn't make it tonight, this will be recorded and will be sent out to everyone in the WMS for you to share. Additional housekeeping items. So again, we do want your participation. So if you have questions or comments, you can click on the chat. If you want to talk, that's totally okay. Like I said, everyone's muted right now. It just helps keep down the background noise and distractions. But feel free to raise your hand, and then I can unmute you if you want to chat. You know, bear with me as I go through all the names and everything to see who it is that wants to talk. But and this is if you're via Zoom. So again, via your laptop, your tablet, your PC, iPhone, or Android app. So you would click on first on the participants tab, which again, if you hover, it'll be on your screen. Then you would click raise your hand or raise hand. And at that point, I can call on you, I can unmute you, and you can feel free to speak at that point. So that's just something to keep in mind as we go through. If you are called in, meaning you called in on a touch tone phone, cell phone, landline, whatever it may be, you can also raise your hand by pressing *9 on your touchtone phone. And then at that moment, I will ask you to unmute, or I will unmute you. If I ask you to unmute, you can press *6. You will see these housekeeping items throughout the rest of the presentation, because I know it's a lot. So after each section of the agenda, I will go over these again, just so you know that we do want you to participate. So with that, I'm going to go through the agenda. And so here's what we have for the agenda. We're going to start off with prayer and scripture devotion time by our worship chairs, Sister Lois Childs and Henrietta Thompson. We'll have greetings from our president. We'll have reports from our area chairpersons, our YPD director, our second vice president, and our treasurer. And then we will get into the workshop portion of the meeting. So with that, I am going to, Sister Childs and Sister Thompson, I am going to find you in Zoom to unmute you. Give me just 1 second. And let's see here. All right, Sister Childs and Sister Thompson, are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and take it away with our devotion.
Okay, I'm Sister Thompson, and good evening. And we'll begin with prayer. Is that all right with you, Sister Co-Chair, Sister Childs?
Yes, let me make one statement. We want to just listen to the voice of our Father.
Yes.
Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Now, prayer by Sister Henrietta.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And shall we bow for a word of prayer? Heavenly Father, we come to you in the precious name of Jesus. And Lord, we just want to thank you for one more opportunity that we have to come into your presence, even by virtual reality and by technology. Lord, you're so good that we can still be connected even in this manner. Lord, we want to, before we ask you for anything, we want to thank you for everything that you have done for us, Lord. Thank you for watching over us, for protecting us, for being a hedge around us, for being our peace, for being our strength, for being our comfort in this season and during this time. Lord, and what the enemy can mean for evil, you will certainly turn it into good. Because even in this time, in this season, Lord, you provided us with rest. You provided us with time home with our families. You provided, Lord, that we even have jobs that we can do even out of our homes. And Lord, we pray for those that are less fortunate than ourselves, those behind the prison walls. Lord, those that may be in a position of seeking a job, but Lord, you are there and you are with them and you can lead, guide, and direct them into that and into all things. For you still are God and you're over all and you are in all. We thank you, Lord, for this time that we can come together again by computer and by virtual, by technology. We thank you for those that are on the line. We ask you would bless this meeting, Lord. You would be in the midst of this meeting. Everything would be done according to your will, and that it would be for your benefit, Lord, and that you will be magnified, you will be lifted up, you would be praised, even in this meeting this evening, Lord. We pray for all those that are on the line, those that are on by the virtual, by the connecting, by the computers, and even by phone. Lord, we ask that you would just stand with them and be with them during this time. Let them know that you are God above all. You love us and you care for us. You are concerned about everything and you perfect everything that does concern us, Lord. We thank you once again for this time. We pray for those who have suffered loss during this time, God, and we know that you are a healer, you are a comforter, you are our strength. We thank you. We give you all glory, honor, and the praise for this evening. Bless our leaders, bless our pastors, bless Sister Fields as she comes as our president this evening. And we're thankful for her, thankful for Sister Lionel that's helped us with this evening, Lord. And you just get all the praise, the glory, and the honor that you're doing. It's in your precious name, in your son's name we pray. And we give you all the honor and praise. Amen and amen.
Amen. Our scripture gives us guidelines for Christians' duty relating to politics, and it comes from Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 5. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist are established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authorities is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and you will be commended. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid. For rulers do not hear or bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants, agents of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, It is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also as a matter of conscience. This ends our devotion. Sister Linnell.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just as we continue through our agenda, just a reminder, I know we had some more missionaries join us. So just a reminder that the housekeeping items that we have, so everyone is muted. Feel free to turn your video on or off as you so choose. These are the controls that are within Zoom that you can use. The meeting is being recorded. So with that, let's see, I think I have one more slide. Yes, we do encourage your participation. So again, just a reminder, you can chat any questions or comments you may have. You can also raise your hand and I can unmute you. And to do that, you would click on participants and then you would click on raise hand if you're joining us via audio only, meaning you dialed in, you did not use the Zoom link. You can raise your hand pressing *9, and then you'll be instructed to unmute yourself pressing *6. So with that, I think we're gonna go first off, I believe, and Sister Fields, tell me if I'm doing this correctly, I think we're gonna go to Meon Ward, our YPD director first on the agenda. So Sister Meon, let me find you in the list so I can unmute you. Looking. Give me 1 second. Sister Fields, is that right? We're going to go to Meon first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Meon has another engagement. You found her?
I have not found her. Let's see.
She's on audio.
She's on audio. Okay, Sister Meon, what is your phone number so I can find you? You want to just do *9 and raise your hand? There you are. Awesome. All right, Sister Meon, it's all you.
Hello, everybody. To our President Fields and to all our officers on the call and to the WMS Society. Again, I say hello on behalf of the Oklahoma Conference YPDers. We are doing a lot of things right now, so just wanted to give you a brief update on what's going on and what we're doing. The first line of item is the 12th District Scholarship, the Sarah Allen Scholarship. That scholarship is due on tomorrow, May 15th. All scholarships on the west side is due to Sister Chanel Doolin, who is our committee chair. And of course, on the east side, they will be given to me and I will forward them to Sister Doolin. Again, that's the Sarah Allen Scholarship, which is the 12th District Scholarship. It is due on tomorrow, May 15th, which is Friday. So encourage your young people to finish those up and get those in. Second, we are honoring, the 12th District is honoring all of our seniors. So I have asked each YPD director to give me a name of a senior within their local church, also a picture where they're graduating from, and also what school they plan to go to. So we'll definitely get it out on the date that we plan to honor them, but we are putting all of that information together for a slideshow. So again, I have asked the local directors to give me a name of all the seniors and all the pertinent information for the slideshow. And finally, our third project we've been working on all week, it is our connectional self-denial. And what self-denial is, it just gives the opportunity for the young people to provide service, if we could, and to give a little reflection of what's going on in the world, a reflection of what's going on in each person, and also a devotion. And so what the 12th District has done, and the call that I'm getting ready to join, every night we have chose a subject and a prayer, and devotion in which the young people can get on a Zoom call and participate in self-denial. And again, that ends tonight with our bishop. So that's some of the things that the YPD are doing. So I'm just excited that we're still working in the midst of everything that's going on. We're still pushing through. So again, if you have any questions, I know I talk a little fast. If you have any questions after the call, send me a quick email. But again, the scholarship is due tomorrow. Sister Doolin and the committee will take a look at them, and we will be looking to see what else the young people need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving right ahead. So we're now going to have greetings from our president, Sister Brenda Fields.
Good evening, everyone. I am just so excited about this Zoom meeting tonight. I give God all the praise and honor. As we begin this meeting, I want you to know that it was really a brainstorm that started with Sister Linnell offering to do a workshop for us. And then it came to my mind that, you know what, perfect timing. We had planned a workshop in May during our planning meeting. And this was an opportunity for us not to stop what we were doing, but to keep going forward. So I appreciate Sister Linnell so much for what she's done to ensure that this meeting came off. And the work, I mean, really the bulk of the work, I would send her stuff and she'd just make it work. So I am just so pleased and grateful for that. I thank each and every one of you all for being on this call. I thank you for the time that you put into it. Sister Mian, I thank you for being on the call. I know that you have to go and hear our bishop, but I also want to reiterate the fact that it's important, YPDers, parents, that you ensure that your YPDers get their application to the appropriate persons on tomorrow. I know I got a text earlier today that said, hey, I'm having trouble with getting my counselor. We can go work through those things, but we can't work through those things if we don't hear from you. So it's important that you contact Sister Mian and Sister Chanel, who is helping her. Her and myself will be on the committee that will also review, and there will be a few other educators that we will ask to help review those essays and those applications. But we want to ensure that all things are done proper and in order. Also remember that those young people that are applying for scholarships must be active YPDers, not just the name on the roll. All right, so we want active members of the YPD. All right, any questions on that? Again, I thank you all for being on the call, and Sister Linnell will go on, and we will go forward with our agenda. I think the first thing I had on was the letter of the letter for offering of letters. I'm sorry, and it's an effort between us and the Connection Church, and they're asking us to help write letters, and we want handwritten letters this time. For every person to handwrite a letter to their senator, to the congressman, letting them know that we would like for them to support programs that will help to eradicate hunger. And in those letters, what we'd like for you to do with those letters, we'd like for you to place those letters in an envelope with a stamp addressed to your congressman. But please don't mail those letters. What we would like for you to do is to get those letters to your area chairperson. So your area chairperson is then charged with making a list of those persons that prepared letters, and then they can mail those letters. Sister Linda Joe, who is our first vice president, has asked that she receive that list who have wrote letters by June. So ladies, I know this is 2 weeks out, but I would appreciate it if you would just, this is a real easy project for us, is that we just want to remind our congressmen and senators that we need them to support any programs that help to eradicate hunger within our community. And you know, our community is the one that's vastly affected by hunger. So we want to do that, and it's just a matter of sitting and writing a letter and preparing it and getting it sent to your area chairperson, who will then make a list and get it to our 12th Fiscal District First Vice President, Sister Linda Joe. Sister Linda Joe does an excellent job of getting the information out and of all the projects that we have coming forward. So that's the first project. The next project, Sister Linnell, is the fistula campaign. Now, all of you all know about this campaign. I believe also you received information in the newsletter that I sent out recently in regards to that. So we do want to recognize our supervisor, Sister Cordelia Mitchers, Sister Charlotte Martin, who was our connectional first vice, Sister Thelma Ditton, our president, and Linda Joe, who is our first vice president, and Sister Yvonne Stovall, who is the 12th district representative for NGO. So we want to recognize them for their efforts in doing this campaign. And what we'll do, if you go to the next slide, is that, you know, fistulas is one of the most serious things that happens when women who give childbirth, especially in Africa. Next slide. And it causes a great problem. I won't basically go through the slides. You can go ahead and cut through. But it's a hole between the vagina and the rectum, and it causes the woman a lot of pain and a lot of suffering behind it because it puts off an odor and it makes them unacceptable in public. And a lot of them end up getting divorced or separated from their families because of the odor and the medical condition that they suffer in and suffer with. And so with that, we as a body can help them by donating the $5 that we've asked you for to get an operation for them. Each operation costs $586, I believe. And so I think when we met, we had hoped that we would have a goal of maybe being able to supply surgery for 2 women at the price of $586. And that means that we would have to have 117 women donating $5. I looked at that today and I realized, $5 may not get it. So if you have it in your heart and you can, if you can send more than $5, then send 2 $5. But if you can't, that's all right too. We'll take that $5. Whatever you can send to help fix this problem, we would greatly appreciate it. The funds, again, will be collected. And we will find, if you see in those slides, that it's a life-changing surgery for a lot of women. And we just appreciate all that you all will do. Thank you, Renata. We thank you for all that you will do in terms of helping us to eradicate this problem. And now the district, if we go to the next slide, you see here that my screen is covering up my slides, actually. But for every 50 women, there are several women that are waiting. I mean, for every woman that's treated, there are at least 50 women waiting to be treated. And so with that in mind, what the first vice president has asked us to do as a conference is to send the $5. She's asked us to send that money in also by June the 1st. And whatever we receive, we will, if we get the enough money for 2, we'll send. But whatever we receive, we will send forth to the district. Now, the district has a goal of actually, and I didn't see this until later, they have a goal of 5 surgeries. So that's the 12th Episcopal District wants to sponsor at least 5 surgeries. So it is my prayer that the Oklahoma Conference, as one of the 4 conferences in the 12th Episcopal District, that we can sponsor at least 1 surgery. I think our goal was 2, but if we could get at least 1, I would be so appreciative of that. So put that on your list of things to do. Please send that $5 to your area chairpersons so that we can make our report in a timely manner. Okay, that's all for the fistula. Any questions in regard to the fistula?
I see no
All right,
questions.
next slide.
All right.
Okay. All righty. Now this slide, next slide, you see here is, it says that May is mental health awareness. And I just wanted to put that out there, and I thought that was a timely thing for us to note because we've been enclosed in our homes for the last 2 months almost. and the walls are coming at us. So I want to encourage you to get out, take a walk, get some sunshine. My husband says I'm getting on his nerve. I'm planting things, and I thought I could plant a watermelon and a cantaloupe in a container. He politely told me that wasn't happening. And so he did give a patch of ground for me, and I was able to put that in the ground. And so, and I actually am excited because I have tomatoes. I see tomatoes. I have bell peppers on my plant. I even planted an eggplant. I don't see anything on it yet, but anyway, I actually have strawberries, and I just go out there every morning on that deck, and I walk around, and if nothing else, I talk to those plants. If nothing else, I know that they're glad to see me if nobody else sees. So I just want to encourage you guys to reach out if you feel like, hey, I need some support. I'm in the house by myself. Call somebody or call. There are listings here on this flyer. There's a website that you can go to if you need to call and talk to somebody. But remember, take care of yourself. You can't help anybody if you need help. So please, please, please. And there's no shame. Don't place any stigmas on that. There's no shame in that. Just be sure that we take care of each other. And my sisters, if you think of someone and they just happen to come to your mind, they probably need something. So pick up that phone and just give them a call, give them an encouraging word, and let them know that somebody cares. So just remember, this month, May, is Mental Health Month. Okay, next slide. Next slide, Linnell. All right.
It should be there. Yep.
Now, I know we all know, we've seen all of these things. All of these things that are important to us. We know that we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves. We understand that we are the population that's been highly affected by this disease. If you've got any underlying diseases, asthma, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. If you have them all, you probably really should stay in. If there's someone that can go out and help you get your groceries or do whatever it is that you need to do, you need to have them do so. Also, the doctors are doing, if you need to see your doctor, they're all doing, a lot of them are doing virtual visits. You can see your doctor online. So, if they can do that, that's what you need to do. If there's something that we can help you with, if you just need a ride somewhere, I'm available. I really am not doing anything. I do own a mask, and I put it on, and I put my gloves on when I go out. So, if I can be of help to you, I'm offering myself to you. But just remember, you all, that we need to see about one another. We need to be very serious about our social distancing. We need to take that in all sincerity. I looked and I saw last night, and I was so disheartened that they opened up Wisconsin, but they did it. They did it. And so it happens. And what we need to do is that we remember that we need to protect ourselves. Some people have to work. They don't have the choice. They have to go out of home. Some people are fortunate enough to stay in their homes and be able to work. But us, if you have to go to work, take care of yourself. But take social distancing seriously. Okay? Remember also, and I think you got that in the newsletter that I sent out also, be sure and wash your hands. I know that they did, and there was this big scare, and nobody could find hand sanitizers and all those things. But the first defense is soap and water. So always wash your hands. Wash your hands a million times a day. When this first started, my hands were literally raw. But I want you to continue to wash your hands. And like I said again, wear your mask when you're out, also your gloves. My granddaughter told me the other day, oh, it's redundant to put those gloves on. Everything you touch is I said, I know, but when I get in the car, I sanitize those gloves I have on before I take them off. And then I wipe down my steering wheel. And so it's just some things that we need to do to make sure that we are protected and that understand that we are the ones being vastly affected by this disease. Okay? Any questions? All right.
All right. Thank you much.
I believe that's the last slide.
It is. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. All right. We are going to go now to our area chairpersons. I have unmuted. Just a second. Yes. So we have Area 1, Jackie Weary, and Area 2, Patricia Davenport. So whomever wants to speak first, go right ahead.
Well, hello,
Okay.
everybody. Jackie, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear
Go
me?
ahead, Jackie.
Okay. Good evening. It's so good to be able to be on the conference call. I miss our meetings, but if we have to do it this way, I'm fine with this as well. Area 1, of course, we have been hampered by the COVID-19, but we're not going to let it stop us. We have received fistula funds, budgets, pledges, and we've also received money for the crowns and pearls. So people have already paid for some of those tickets and the 12th district breakfast. So we'll be getting that information to the financial secretary and the treasurer. I try to call the local presidents, and those that don't have local presidents, I try to keep in contact with the pastors to make sure, just to say hello, see if everyone is okay. We one day we will be doing feeding one day. Vernon AME Church, feeds every day. Anyone who needs a meal, they are feeding. So what we want to do as an Area 1, we're going to take one day and we're going to donate funds and we're going to feed one day at Vernon. Also, I am in a group called Mask for Oklahoma. If anyone needs a mask, I just got in this group not too long ago. If you need a mask, you need one, you don't have the funds, it's available. You need to contact me. And we're going to do that as a project for the area as well. Also, I would like to say that, I've been ill, but thank God and praise God that I'm coming along, and that we just need to keep praying for one another. We have a lot of older members, and we need to keep check on them. And like I said, if anyone needs a mask, I can get that. I can get that supplied. They are donated, okay, through this group called Mask for Oklahoma. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am reporting for the Western District, and I would like to thank all of you who are part of the Western District who are on this line for your participation in everything that we have done in the Western District. I'd like to state that with God as our helper, we have been blessed to have been able to do the work of missions differently. We have participated in every project that has been set before us. The latest this quarter has been the Fistula project, and we have turned monies in regarding the Fistula project. And if I can at this time take the opportunity to thank those presidents who have sent their Fistula project money in, and that is Sister Lois Childs of Avery Chapel, Sister Gwendolyn Price of Davis Chapel, Sister Mary Screen of Grant Chapel, Sister Doretha Hamlin of St. Paul Guthrie, and Sister Deborah Jordan of Mount Triumph Spencer. And as I stated, I am still collecting funds for Fistula. I have been in contact with the presidents of our churches, and they are working diligently getting their funds together. Like I said, and we're collecting money for the investment scholarship breakfast. Also, we've turned money in for the Crown and Pearls project, as Sister Jackie has stated, and those funds are still coming in. We have had 2 churches that I am aware of who, even through this coronavirus pandemic, are trying to do missions differently. I understand that Avery Chapel's pastor, Reverend Crawford, has delivered food bags, and also the pastor of Allen Chapel has delivered food bags, as well as Sister Olivia Rose, who is the secretary for the conference. She has a team being led by, with her, who helped her last month, was our YPD director, Sister Katrina Rose, along with her children, as YPDers helped pack the bags on last month, and they're looking forward to continuing that. They're going to deliver the bags. Instead of delivering this month, they will be standing outside delivering to the people who will come and receive one of the bags. We missed our second scheduled Western District because we had already pre-scheduled our meeting with First AME. And before we could reschedule the meeting, here comes COVID-19, and it's still here. So our next meeting will be held June the 6th, 2020. Avery Chapel will be the host, and it will be done virtual, I'm sure. And so those of you who are from the Western District who are listening, you will be hearing more about that in the future weeks to come. And let me say this process, meaning this Zoom process, I'm learning a lot, and I finally got a line just dedicated to me for a conference call. So I'm excited. You know, and you can't help but be excited when the Lord is helping you steer through this, for us, COVID-19 pandemic. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we are going to move to our treasurer report. And Sister Williams, I have you unmuted and ready to go.
Okay, just a minute, because I'm on another Zoom call. So let me turn the volume down on that.
Okay. And just as a reminder, everyone, if you want to chat, feel free to do that. All right, Sister Williams, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good evening, the Sisters of the Oklahoma State Conference. Before you, you should see a copy of a financial report from the beginning of the year when we first started in September through where we are now. And if you'll notice, there were some transfers where where some accounts were closed, and that's where we started our account with. And you can see that at the top, and I'm on the left side now, on the left. And everything that you see on the left is income that has come in from various reasons and different things. And I'm not gonna read and go over each line item, but you can see that so far we have collected $85 for the fistula project. And just a minute, I'm ending one Zoom call. Okay, and if you see the different things that we have received funds for, one of the things, our largest amount has come from our WMS budgets that we have collected, and you can see it's $16,930. At the very bottom, you will see the incomes from the YPD and those funds that they have turned in as well. And if you notice, area 1 and 2, I have lined item your registration funds that you had when you had your area meetings. And so those funds are designated on here as well. And so we have a total of $33,099.39 that we've collected so far. On the right side are all of our expenses. You will see the check numbers as well as the amounts that we have there. And as I said before, I'm not gonna go over every line item. You can see that, but to show you that we have, as I stated before, we've collected $33,099.39. Our expenses were $32,274.29. And you can see that we have a balance in the checking account now of $825.10. We have met all of our obligations up to this point. We know that June 10th, we basically start over with some of the budgets. Some of the churches have already paid in full for the year. And I want to say woohoo to those churches, WMS organizations, because you have fulfilled your budget obligations for this conference year. And we appreciate that. On the second page, I broke down
a separate budget so that the YPD could see what has come in. And you can see that they started the year off with not very much, but we're there to help them. We're there to help them. And they have collected $6,500 in budgets. They also had some donations, a couple of fundraisers, and you can see those are designated as well. As I said before, we are there to help them. We were able to give them at the beginning of the year a $500 gift. And Avery Chapel is one of those YPDs that are paid up for the year. They have paid all of their obligations for this conference year. The expenses you can see on the right. There were 2 expenses. Their budgets totaled $8,500. We registered some individuals for the LTI, and that was a total of $410. Unfortunately, but you know, God's good. They are in the red, $6.98. But we know that anything's possible. Any questions?
All right, I see no questions. We're going to go ahead and move on. So thank you, Sister Williams, for that. Oh, let's see, we have a question coming through. I can't make that out. So Sister Sandra, will you type that again? I think it says Davis Chapel YPD budget paid in full. I'm not sure if that's a question. So we'll come back to that, and we're going to go ahead and move through the agenda. And so our YPD director already spoke. So we have our second vice president, Chanel Doolin, and you are unmuted. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am just so excited to be on the call. It's so good to hear voices. I just left work not too long ago. But the 2 things that I've been working on, you know, every year the 12th district usually has a project for the WMS that we usually participate in annual conference. And this year we have the hygiene kits for the shorter college students. There's supposed to be 53 female hygiene kits and 22 male kits for a total of 75. And so I had talked with Sister Lanita Joe, who's actually kind of over this, and she told me that it has been put on hold as of right now because of COVID-19. However, she did suggest that we go ahead and get the items ready so that when the students are able to go back, that we can move forward. So probably this month we will send a letter out, just assigning the different churches like their responsibilities and a day that they can get together to get the kits together. So more information to follow up on that. And she also said, Sister Linda Jo also told me that she's going to follow up with Supervisor Mitchell to see, you know, what we needed to do, the next steps that we needed to take. So more information is to come with that. And like I said, our goal is to get a letter out this month so that we have plenty of time to get the items and we're not in a rush. The second thing that we've been working on is from the newsletter that Sister Fields sent out about, you know, the letter was saying that anybody that could sew or make masks, you know, we need those. And so I believe I went back and did my count. I was able to donate about 101 masks for that project. I ended up giving a total of 21 away so far, and then I have to send 18 tomorrow to Task, to Flipper AME Church. And so if anybody is needing a mask, like Sister Weary has said, I have some too. That I've had some friends that have made some for me one of my coworkers, her name is Tammy, and her daughter, they do an excellent job. She's making me 10 more, so I'll have some next Tuesday, about 10 medium-sized, adult-sized masks, and I have 3 children's masks too. They do all sizes. They do children's, they do youth, they do small youth, they do small adult, medium adult, and they do large. So they have all the different sizes that they do. And basically, she's just been asking me for a donation. So I've just been giving her a donation. And I really just want to stress the masks are really important because they help to slow the spread of the virus, the COVID-19. And like, if you need a mask, you can either text me or email me, because I do have a few here at the house, and then I'm getting some more next week. And I can also tell my friend Tammy to make me some more. So that's really what I've been working on. That's about it.
Thank you. Thank you. And so we have a few questions I see coming through. So when I call out your name, that'll mean you are unmuted. So first off, looks like Sister Davenport, you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay, your hand was raised. Sorry. Okay, we'll meet you back. And then we have an iPhone user. I'm sorry, it doesn't show name or number, it just says iPhone with the raised hand. So just wanted to check to see if you had a question or a comment.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And that's Gloria Hall. Yeah.
Hey, Gloria.
This is Gloria Hall. Hi. And you're doing a good job with this Zoom, by the way. Excellent meeting, Sister Fields. I've been on some that haven't gone so smoothly. But this is just to my area chairperson, Sister Davenport. We've raised the money for our fistula. I'll get that to you. And also for we'll also pay the last quarter of our budget, and then we will be paid in full for the year. So
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm done.
And
sorry, I muted myself. Sorry about that. And so, and let's see, we have Sister Henrietta Thompson. I saw your hand raised.
Yes, ma'am. I'm on. Am I with you?
Yep, you're with us.
Oh, okay. I was listening to Sister Chanel and her report on the mask. And for instance, if you know of an organization that needs masks, my brother is a special needs disabled individual, and his organization, which he's a client in a group home, and they were needing some masks. How would we get in touch with her or whomever that could make some masks? And then a second part to that, I know she mentioned about donations, but say like if individually I wanted one, how much would it be? And on that, who do we get in touch with if an organization needs masks?
All right.
And that would be to Sister Chanel if she's still on.
Yep, she's unmuted. Yep.
Okay.
Sister Henrietta,
yes, ma'am.
Actually, the lady that's made me the mask, she's my coworker. Actually, her daughter has made them, and she specifically, she's told me that I basically didn't have to give her anything, but I just gave her a donation just for her time of material. But I could ask her, how many masks do you need?
Oh,
how many masks?
It's about 30.
About 30?
Yes, ma'am.
I could text her tonight. I know that she's making, is it adult size?
Well, my brother and the clients, they have really remained in their homes, but the workers are in and out. And I think it's mainly for the workers or the caretakers. And then if they do take the clients out, for instance, my brother, if there's a doctor's appointment, he would need one then. But they want to start with at least the 30.
Okay, 30. Well, I can text Tammy tonight, and don't worry about anything else. I can text her and see if they can do it, because she was already making me 10. So I was just having 10 on hold just in case someone needed some. So you can have those 10, and then I'll ask her if she can make 20 more for me.
Oh, that would be great. That would really be
Okay.
great.
Just after this call over, just call me and let me know, like the state, because they do sizes. I'm thinking you probably just need small to medium adult. The largest
I think it's going to be adults. Yeah, adults probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably those.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
I can call.
I'm not sure if I have your number. Do you have mine?
I don't.
Let me see if I got you. I might have you in my phone. I'm not sure.
If you're on the Zoom, Sister Henrietta,
Yes, ma'am.
Sister Chanel was talking. She will show up as a phone number when she talks. So
I think I might have it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I was wondering, how do I get my people across the top of my screen? I had them at first and I lost them.
Oh, so that way you could go to your if you hover over your toolbar, and then participants.
Let's see.
Yeah, pull up the click on participants.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you can adjust your grid however you would like.
Oh, participants. It just says find participants right now. Do I need to exit out?
No, you should be.
Okay. Well, I know we got other things to talk about than rather me.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go on.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right, with that concludes our reports. And so we'll move right along. Just a reminder, the housekeeping items, I will say you all are doing awesome with the Zoom, so keep it up. Let's see, we have a few more raising the hand, so let me call on Sister Marsha Williams. You are unmuted.
I was just gonna let Chanel know, and she was talking about the packages for the students that shorter. You know, we had one church on, if you notice, I typed in for everyone. There was a line item where one church has already donated gift cards to, I guess we could use, because originally we were going to do gift cards, but now we're not doing the gift cards. So those gift cards could be used to purchase items to go into those kits for those students.
Oh, that's excellent. Yes, that's a great idea. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Sister Henrietta?
Yes, ma'am.
Your hand is raised again.
I'm sorry?
Did you had another question? I saw your hand was raised.
Oh, no. Am I supposed to take it off when I'm finished?
Take it off. I can take it off.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out too. Thanks.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay, so again, just a reminder, the housekeeping items, your controls in Zoom, you guys are doing great. So these are just friendly reminders. And again, also how you can chat. If you're on audio only, you can press *9 on the touch tone phone, or when you raise your hand, that's *9. To unmute you would be *6, or I can also unmute you to call on you. So with that, we're gonna get into the workshop portion. So I'm very excited to present about the importance of our federal census and voting. So this is a big year. 2020 is a big year, not only in that, you know, we unprecedented times with the pandemic, but also as far as elections go and as far as the census goes. So I will ask if one of the officers of the WMS can just monitor the chat as I go through, just if any questions come up. It gets a little difficult with me presenting and to do the chat, but or if you raise your hand, that's totally fine too if you have a question throughout. So we're going to jump right in, watching the time. So we feel free to ask questions or make comments in the chat as you see fit. So I wanted to start off first with the Census Bureau. So a little bit, I'll go back a slide just to introduce like why I'm doing this. So I serve as the 12th Episcopal District Political Action Commission chairperson. So each district in the AME Church, we partner, and I'll talk about it later, but each district has appointed a political action commission chairperson. So Sister Fields reached out to me to ask if I would do this. I love to talk about voting. I love to talk about the census. I love to talk about all things government to really get people engaged and really turn the tide in not only our political system, but also just in the well-being of us as it comes from funding, as it comes to politics, and just having that knowledge and knowing what we can do to make a difference. So you'll see I get a little nerdy when I'm talking about some of this stuff. So, feel free to say, hang on, stop just a second. What does that mean? And these slides will be shared. And again, we are recording this meeting. So starting with the Census Bureau. So the mission of the Census Bureau is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy. So, and it's dedicated to providing those facts and figures about the economy, places, geography, who are our citizens in the United States. It's part of the United States Department of Commerce, which a lot of people probably don't know, and it's headquartered in Maryland. And so when we think about the census, we think of the one census we do every 10 years. However, the term census actually can apply to 4 different surveys that are administered by the Census Bureau. And so I put in this little chart to talk a little bit about what does each one do. So the first one is the American Community Survey. This is one you've probably overlooked. So it's actually conducted every month of every year. And this shows how we live. So it talks about our education. We report on housing, jobs. It's sent to American citizens, American households. About 3.5 million households receive this. Again, it's probably easily overlooked if you've gotten it. It's green. It was, if you were one of the households, the sample size selected, it was sent with the decennial census that I'll talk about in a second. But this is also, by law, you are also required to complete this community survey. So again, it's every month of every year it is sent. So, and it's mailed to your home. You can complete it online, but it's actually, for the most part, it's mailed first to your home. The census of governments is another one. So again, that term census can mean a lot of different things, but the census of governments is just what it means. It's the census given to our local governments. So the state and local government sector. So they report on things as a benchmark, how public funds are spent and who's employed in the public sector of business of the government. This one's a little interesting because it's done every 5 years for years ending in 2 or 7. So, and the data collected is for the preceding year. So for example, 2017, there was a survey done. But that's based, the data collected reports the 2016 year. And so the next one for this one would be 2022 for the year ending in 2. The decennial census of population and housing is the one we probably refer to the most when we talk about the census. And this is the one that provides an official count of the population. It is conducted every 10 years and is actually mandated by the US Constitution. So again, decennial meaning 10, or every 10 years. This is the one we think of when we say census, but keep in mind there's a lot more that go into the census piece. And lastly, the economic census. That provides detailed information on employer businesses. So this is one that goes to businesses that are around in a particular area, and it's conducted every 5 years. So this is where businesses report the industry that they're in, the geography, salaries, how many are employed, all data that's collected by the Bureau to help with decision making. So how is that data used? It's used to determine the distribution of congressional seats to the states. That is important because if you think about our House of Representatives, we think about how that's based on the population. So they are seen as the true representatives of the people. Depending on how we answer the census and what the population looks like determines how many seats we get in Congress. That then translates into how many electoral votes we get when we think about presidential elections. It plays into how many seats we have on how policy is made and the lawmakers are made. So it's extremely important that we get that right. It helps to make planning decisions about community services. So things from transportation to education, things of that nature that play into the community. And it decides how the distribution of $675 billion in federal funds to local governments are allocated. And so keeping that in mind, why the census is important. So some key dates, and to dispel a few rumors, because a lot of times people may not understand, like, what is the census really doing, or when should I complete it? So first off, so March 12th through March 20th, and this is the original plan. households received the 2020 census with information on how to respond, either by online, phone, or mail. You'll notice on that it had a reference date. It had a date of April 1st. A lot of people think that's a deadline. That is not. That's the reference date. So that's the date by which you report where you lived and everyone who usually lives and sleeps in your home. That's the date. So it's just a point in time. So as of April 1st, who was here? Things get a little tricky, right? Because that was right in the midst of the pandemic coming out. So you may have had people living in your home that maybe had moved to your home to live there, or have now permanently been there. You want to use that as the reference date for that. I put in red the original plan items that will change because of COVID-19. And so by mid-April, paper questionnaires were going to be mailed to homes that had not responded via online or by phone. And then July 31st was when that self-response phase would end. That gave everyone, the Census Bureau, time to tally all the counts. And then on March 31st of next year was to be the redistricting counts that were sent to states that would then draw up those legislative districts. So if there was an adjustment to be made based on population. Of course, COVID-19 hit, and so these are the updates. So April 1st is still the reference date. However, the self-response date phase ends October 31st. So this is truly the deadline. So before it was July 31st, so now it's October 31st. So if you haven't completed your census, you still have time. What that throws off, though, is the redistricting counts, excuse me, that's hard to say, which is now July 31st of 2021. If you think about where we're going in 2021 and coming upon those midterm elections in 2022, this doesn't give much time for the states to actually get that redistricting if it happens, and to put that into play for those midterm elections. However, COVID-19 threw the timeline completely off. So we can't change those dates. What we can change is making sure that when July 31st of 2021 hits, or at least October 31st of this year, that we know that we have completed our census and it will go into that population count. So I wanted to show you, so the Census Bureau has a great interactive graphic that shows the response rate. So I wanted to pull out Oklahoma just to kind of show where we are on the response rate. So you can see Oklahoma as a whole, and this is the self-reporting, the self-response piece, is at 52.6%. So a little over half of the state has responded to the census. You can see at the national side on the left here is 58.7%. So we're not too far behind. As a point of reference, the 2010 census, so 10 years ago, Oklahoma had a response rate of 62.3. And so pretty low, but I think we can do better with that. I think a lot of, when I was doing research and looking at everything, there's a lot of confusion on that April 1st date. April 1st is just census day. That's just the point in time, the reference. A lot of people think that's the deadline, which I think plays into why the response rate is so low. Or people don't know how to respond if they lose the form that was given or that was mailed. I want to take a deeper look at Oklahoma, looking at the cities, and this is more the city view, not the county view. And so you can see based on the bottom here, the chart of the percentage rate, where the hubs are, where people are responding. So for the Oklahoma City area, you can see Edmond is high up, and I have a link in the presentation that can take you to this interactive chart. You can see that, for the most part, the state is in that 50% range. Here up towards the Tulsa area, this little dark blue spot, so the darker the spot, the higher the rate. This is the Broken Arrow area. So I say all that to say, when we think about our churches and our church members, and if they haven't responded to the census, make sure they do. Make sure they also know that, and that we know that where you're going to respond and report about the census may not necessarily be the same city or town that you go to church in. But the key is making sure that we respond, that we have a response, and that we send that in or we get it counted. So how do you respond? There's three ways. You can respond online, and there's the link, so my2020census.gov. It takes about 10 minutes to respond. Now, when you received your packet in the mail, you had a census ID number. That makes it easy when you go online to respond. You don't need that ID number though. You can go based off your address and your birthday, and you can do it online. You don't need the census ID. I would always just say, make sure you get the confirmation number to know that it is completed. You can also complete it by phone. So there's the phone number by which you can complete the census. You know, people are at home, so they're doing it a lot now. So be prepared for those long wait times. But what they did implement was a callback. So you can call in and request that you get called back when the next representative is available. So you don't have to wait on the phone. Your phone will ring and connect you with that representative once you get that call back and once a representative is free. Lastly, you can just mail back the form you received. And so everyone received a form. You got one notice early that said, we are getting ready to do the census, and then you actually got the form to complete. So you can just mail that back in. There's a self-addressed stamped envelope. Actually, I think it's metered, so not stamped. If you do not have the form though, you can't mail it back in, and so you can't download it. So you would need to respond via online or by the phone. So that's just a look at some of the census information. And at this time, I'll take questions before we get into the voting piece. So are there any questions about the census? Any questions about how do you respond? How can we help others to respond? All right, we got a nice comment about very thorough and glad providing slides. Yes, so we will get the slides to you because I know it's a lot. Like I say, I don't want to nerd out and give you all the good stuff, but yeah, we'll provide the slides. So again, just a few housekeeping items. You guys are pros at Zoom now, so we just skip all over these housekeeping items. So let's talk about voting. Voting is something I'm very passionate about, something I really enjoy. I love talking about it. I love educating people about it. So let's just jump right into that. So a few facts about voting. So voter turnout dropped to a 20-year low in the 2016 presidential election. In 2016, only 64% of eligible voters were registered to vote. That's low. And this is obviously the United States. Here's a very alarming figure. 65% of Black voters were registered to vote in the last presidential election, so 2016, Trump versus Clinton, but only 55% turned up to the polls. 2/3 of young people, and we consider young 18 to 25, didn't cast a ballot in that 2016 presidential election. And lastly, 20% as of today, this is actually as of 2 weeks ago when these facts came out, 20% of eligible voters are still not registered. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to get these numbers up, especially the 20-year low number. One would consider the 2016 presidential election very key. There were some thoughts that it would go one way and not the other. But we do have some work to do in the area of voting and registering. So I talked briefly before about what's our mission. So why has the WMS partnered with the organization When We All Vote? And it's really to ensure those safe and fair voting for everyone in every election. Now, when We All Vote was established, we did not know, or they did not know that COVID-19 was gonna really turn the 2020 elections on its head. And so we got even a little bit more of a challenge this year as we slide into election season to make sure we are ensuring that safe and fair voting for everyone. So a little bit about When We All Vote. It's a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that's on a mission to increase that voter participation in every election. We don't want to see the 20-year low again. We don't want 2020 to be the new, low. And to close the race and age gap, voting gap. We got to change the culture around voting. So our boomers are our biggest population. We saw huge numbers of young folks turn out in the presidential election in 2008 and then again in 2012. So something has happened along the way. We don't know what that is, but what we can do is we can try to fix it. We can try to make sure we're aware of this and that we know what we can do. So our goals are to expand online voter registration, expand early voting, and expand and vote by mail and or online voting. And I'm going to go through some of the challenges with each of these goals, not saying they're not attainable, but we also have to be realistic in that, you know, what can we do to help slowly move the needle towards achieving these goals? So I want to start off with some terms and definitions. So I'm going to start off with terms and definitions and then kind of build it up and then cover the Oklahoma piece of things. And so I'm making an assumption everyone on here lives in Oklahoma. If you live in another state, happy to get that information for you as well. And also to help you help your family members who live in other states. So voter registration means the person has met all the requirements to vote and is enrolled on the electoral roll before being entitled or permitted to vote. So it's not enough just to meet the requirements, you actually have to be put on the roll. Absentee voting is voting cast by someone who is unable or unwilling to attend their official polling station to which they're assigned or which they're allocated. So I vote at a retirement home down the street from me. If I didn't want to do that or couldn't do that, I could do absentee voting. Now, keep in mind, some states do require a reason or excuse for absentee voting. Oklahoma does not. So one of the great things about Oklahoma, we don't, but there's always something with voting. And so we'll talk about that. Early voting is a system in which votes are cast ahead of election day. So we'll talk about that's a method in Oklahoma. And then voting by mail. This is the process of sending every registered voter a ballot without a request. So it just happens automatically for every election. So talking about voter registration in the state of Oklahoma, here are the requirements. So a citizen of the US, a resident of Oklahoma, and at least 18 years old, or you meet the age requirement to pre-register. To pre-register in the state of Oklahoma, you can pre-register at 17 and a half years old if you meet all the other two requirements of being a citizen and resident. You can't vote until you turn 18, and it's been approved by the county election board, but you can pre-register. So think about our YPDers, right, who maybe will turn 18 before the election, either in June or November, and they're already 17 and a half. They can go ahead and pre-register and not have to wait until their 18th birthday to actually start the process. And then voter restoration rights. So persons convicted of a felony, they may register to vote once they have served their sentence or court-mandated calendars, and any convicted felon who's been pardoned may register. So that's also good. For a long time, convicted felons could not vote in the state of Oklahoma. Some states still do not allow them, but voter restoration rights, what we call it, has been implemented for persons who've been convicted of a felony to vote. Now, I talked about voting by mail, right? So this is just a pictorial of the different states. So think about where your family may live, friends, and what the states, how you can vote by mail in the particular state. So you can see that there are 5 states who automatically vote by mail. So Washington, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, and Hawaii, which means they get a ballot automatically to every registered voter. It's just sent out. That's how they vote. We also know that the gray states are the ones where you need to provide an excuse to request a ballot. So I'm trying to think, a couple of weeks ago, I did a scaled down version of this workshop and for the whole 12th Episcopal District, and we talked about Arkansas. So Arkansas, actually, you have to meet 4 excuses or reasons why you would cast an absentee ballot. And they are some of the most outrageous ones I've heard. So you have to be traveling outside the United States. You have to, it can't just be enough that you're sick. So keeping all that in mind as we think about COVID-19 and we think about polling places, we think about what those look like, how close quarters we are, what are our options as we go into June, which is an election for Oklahoma, and then we go into November. And then the blue, of course, is where you can request an absentee or mail-in ballot without any reason, and that is where Oklahoma falls. So a little bit about absentee voting, because that has been in the news a lot in Oklahoma. So on May let me check my notes here, I believe it was May 5th, a ruling came down from the Oklahoma Supreme Court that said, May the 4th. Oklahoma Supreme Court said remove the notary requirement for absentee ballots. So before, if you voted absentee, you had to get it notarized to send it in, or you could walk it in on election day, but you had to get it notarized. Oklahoma Supreme Court on May the 4th said, nope, that's out. Come along May 7th, the governor signed a bill, Governor Stitt signed a bill that actually reinstituted that. And it gave a little bit more leeway in it, but the notary requirement is still there. So this is a copy of that bill and what that means for absentee voting. So voters are required to have absentee ballots notarized. So that's been going on for well over 50 years. However, voters can submit their absentee ballots with copies of their identification or voter identification card in lieu of having it notarized if there's a public health emergency that's been declared within 45 days of an election. This is expected, so COVID-19 is expected to be that public health emergency for the June 30th election. We're a little outside that window right now for that to happen, but it's expected to be declared that you could, when you do your absentee ballot, you can mail in a copy of your identification or your voter registration card or voter identification card. The bill also calls for long-term care facilities and veteran centers can vote absentee. There would be a facility official who's been deputized to collect the required documentation at those facilities. And then those who are ill with COVID-19 or suffering from symptoms of it or in high-risk categories can be considered physically incapacitated and can have an absentee ballot sent to their home. However, they still must either have it notarized or send in a copy of their identification or voter identification card. So that raises the question of, okay, so now I've got to send in my card with the voter registration. I've got to either somehow get it notarized, but we're in COVID-19. So can I go do that? How do I go about doing that? So I'll talk about a few options for that a little later, but this is the world we're living in the state of Oklahoma when it comes to absentee voting. It's not going to be easy, especially with COVID-19. Also, you got to make a copy of stuff. So where do you send that? And let us not forget, the Postal Service is in a little bit of a situation with funding from the government. So mailing back these ballots, how is that going to work? So keep all that in mind. If you do want to do absentee ballot, just a little bit more information about those. They can be requested online. You can go online and fill one out, complete it, or you can download it from online. You can also go to your county election board and get a hard copy. And you can request ballots for the entire election year. So you don't have to, you have the option to request one for every election. If you know you're going to vote absentee or you just want to be safe, just request it for the entire election year. So, starting off you can go now for 2020 and do the rest of the year. So it covers you for June and November, August, if there's a runoff or anything. And then you can do it again in 2021 and request it for the entire year. So that is what you can do. That makes it very nice to request them all at once. And they are online, or you can download those. And I do know when we sent out the slides, I was trying to get fancy with Zoom and put it in the chat where the link is. Not going to do that because I think it may hurt my screen. So we'll send out the actual form and the links as well with the slides. So why does all this matter? It matters because we have an election coming up, June 2020. So a little over a month. On this, in this election, it's considered our primary election for the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House of Representatives, State Senate. There'll be some city council votes taking place, and of course, school boards. The date is June 30th. One of the big things on this particular ballot is the state ballot measure, which has to do with the Medicaid expansion initiative. So it's Oklahoma State Question 802. This measure is going to add a new article to the Oklahoma Constitution. And this is where I get nerded out, so forgive me, I get excited about this. It's an initiated Constitution amendment. So there are some state questions that are not amendments to the Constitution. This would be one. What this calls for is it would expand Oklahoma's Medicaid program to individuals 18 to 65 whose income doesn't exceed the federal poverty level. Now, the Medicaid program that we follow was implemented under the Affordable Care Act under President Obama. In that, there was a 5% income disregard, meaning you could extend it and expand it up to an additional 5% of the poverty level, so the 133 plus the 5, to include all those individuals. So this expansion, if voted in, if the state of Oklahoma citizens say yes, the expansion would be to those who are at 138% of the federal poverty level, not 133. So again, that was built in to the Affordable Care Act. And so just a few states or a few facts about that. So at the moment, as of last month, April of 2020, 14 states had not expanded it. And so what that means is additional federal funding. It also extends that population to be able to have that state covered health medical insurance. It, I think, in the end will help make people healthy. Again, I'm not here to tell you how to vote. I'm just giving you information about it. I will include a link where you can read more about the initiative. But as a point of reference, I just wanted to give you a few numbers of what that 138% of the federal poverty level looks like. So when we talk about individual, if state question 802 passes, what that would look like as far as what 138% of the federal poverty level would look like. And then of course for a family of 2, a family of 3, a family of 4. So just keeping that in mind as you go to the polls and do your research. What does a yes vote mean? So state questions are always yes or no. Yes, a yes vote is you're in favor of expanding it. One thing I will just caution everyone about, make sure you read the question, because in this instance, a yes is in favor of it. Sometimes questions are worded with the double negative. And so voting yes for it may mean really no. And that's just, I don't want to say it's tricky. It's just, that's the way ballots are worded. So just make sure you go in with the most information and the most knowledge that you have. You can always get sample ballots to read over how the question will be presented that you vote on. In this case, a yes vote is in favor of expanding the Medicaid eligibility to those at 138%, so pulling in that extra 5% under the Affordable Care Act. A vote no means that we will not expand it, the state of Oklahoma, and leaving the current levels of coverage in place, which would be 133% of the federal poverty level. So a few dates to remember. So again, when we talk about voting, we talk about elections, few things to keep in mind. You cannot in the state of Oklahoma show up on the day, election day, and say, I'm going to vote, I'm going to register and vote all in one day. Can't do that. So here are some dates to keep in mind for the June election. So June is where we got the state ballot. We got runoffs with the U.S. House of Representatives if you're in District 1, which Tulsa is. We got a few Democrats running against each other for that primary. So if you want to vote in the June 30th election, you have to have your voter registration in by June 5th. If you want to vote absentee in the June 30th election, you have to request your ballot, absentee ballot, online or mail it in by June 24th. Oklahoma has early voting, which means you can show up to your county election board before the day of the election. In Oklahoma, that's always the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before the Tuesday election. So Thursday, June 25th through Saturday, June 27th, you can do early voting, which it's 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Thursday through Friday, and 9 to 2 on that Saturday. And then, of course, election day is June 30th, that Tuesday. And that's the deadline to return your completed absentee ballots, either by mail or you could walk them into your polling place, or not your polling place, to your county election board. So these are the dates to keep in mind. And so just remembering that as you go through and you're thinking about what is my plan. just as a total side note, I was talking to my mother today and I was asking, I was like, Mom, what's your plan for voting? June 30th, we had a whole conversation about Medicaid. And she was like, well, I'm just going to go on Tuesday. So my mom is retired. She is 69 years old. Some of you know my mother. And I said, Mom, there's no reason you can't do early voting. So I firmly believe in the COVID situation that we're in. Early voting is going to be key because those county election boards are going to be set up to handle that. We don't want to get down to the time where it's that Tuesday of election day and I go vote at a retirement community, which has members who are there who are highly susceptible to COVID. I'm not sure that's going to be open. So just using that information to decide what's your voting plan, and you got to have that in place before election day. So are you going to do early voting? Get there at 8 a.m. I know the county election boards will probably have it nice spaced out, and get that vote cast. If the Postal Service is still running by this time, you can do the absentee ballot, just knowing what's involved as far as the either notary or providing your proof of registration, your voter registration or ID. So the federal election, this is a biggie, y'all. This is 2020. This is a big year. So this is what we're voting on in November of 2020. The President of the United States, the U.S. Senate, U.S. House, State Senate, State House, and all 5 seats of the State Supreme Court are up for election this year. Again, dates to remember. I could go on and on about the presidential election. My job is not to tell you how to vote, but keep in mind, he told us to drink bleach. So with that, here are the dates to register for, and I do apologize, that's a typo on the slide. That should say the November 3rd election, not June 30th. So October 9th. So you can always kind of bet on, there's about 25 days before an election that you need to be registered by. To request an absentee ballot is October 28th. Again, early voting. Oklahoma loves early voting. We love it the weekend before. So you can see those early voting dates on the calendar that you can vote. Again, going to your county election board, having your plan in place. How are you going to do that? And then, of course, the election is on November 3rd. Polls are open from 7 to 7. And that's also the deadline to return your completed ballot. So I know that's a lot of information, but keep in mind, African Americans, we had 55% turnout out of 65% of votes registered in the last presidential election. We got to get that number up. We just have to. We have to figure out a way to get our members of our community out there and voting. So it's not enough just to register. We got to cast the vote. We got to cast the ballot and vote. So what are the concerns? I talked about absentee ballots, right? That hinges a lot on the future of the United States Postal Service. We have to mail those in. Does it make sense? You can in Oklahoma take your absentee ballot on election day or before election day and turn it into your election board. You probably should just vote it then, but you got your reasons. That's going to hinge on that. Do we want to wait, especially till November, to find out that maybe the United States Postal Service, which is losing funding, may not be able to process all of our ballots? Also, the cost to properly run an election. There's a lot of talk out there about online voting. Why can't we online vote? To run an election, it takes about $4 billion to properly run an election. And those states that do online voting or only mail-only voting, it took them about 3 elections, like big elections, to get that in place. That's why there's only 5 states that do it. So it takes about $4 billion at the federal level to run an election, and Congress has only promised that they will give $400 million. So I don't see online voting being an option, definitely not for June, definitely not for November. And so we can't bet on, I can just vote online and it'll count. It's going to take us a long time to get to that point. COVID-19 is I feel is here to stay. There's always going to be the lingering fear There's always going to be that it's going to be in the air until there's probably a vaccine. So how is COVID-19 going to change why is that a concern? Because people don't want to go out. Think about Wisconsin and what happened. It was almost like they were choosing, do I get exposed or do I vote? And so, and we, there's legislation being written and coming into play about what will happen, but we can't wait on that. We can't say, well, I don't want to be exposed, so I'm not going to vote. We got to come up with what's our plan? What's our personal plan? What's our plan we're going to use and help others in our community to make sure we cast those votes and stay safe. I'm not saying go risk your life, but stay safe with it. What can we do? Just as I was talking to my mother, I'm going to take her 8 a.m. Again, she's retired. She can go on Thursday and do early voting and not have to worry about, stand outside a little bit. Hopefully the weather's nice and go vote early and not have to worry about her polling place being closed or put it in the hands of the Postal Service. There's also a fear Democrats will not show up to the polls. So I had a friend who sent me the screenshot of an article of an election happening in California that has traditionally been Democratic, and there was a big lead by the Republican candidate, and they feel it's probably because Democrats didn't show up to vote. Now, I'm not saying that, everyone's a Democrat. Historically, though, African Americans have been registered as Democrats. So there is a concern that Democrats won't show up to the polls. There's a concern that African Americans won't show up to the polls. And what does that mean? We can't let that concern be a reality. We can't have another presidential election where our numbers are so low. 55% of registered African American voters showed up. 55%. We can't have that again. There's too much hinging on not only our state, but also our country and our well-being as well. So that is a huge concern. We got to mobilize. We got to get people out and figure out, again, what is our plan? I keep saying that, but what is our plan? And lastly, the lack of information. I love talking about this. I am open to come talk to your churches about just the nuances of absentee voting. I'm open to talk to your small groups or your family members, just because there's just a lot of information out there, and it's hard to decipher through. Well, I thought I could just show up and register to vote. Well, can I register to vote a week before? And that's why I put the calendar in there. These are the dates you have to think about, and when are elections? When does it, every vote counts and matters, but when should I be doing this? And what happens if the Postal Service isn't in existence? Well, can I do early voting then? What happens if my polling place is closed because, like I say, I vote at a retirement home? What if there's a COVID-19 outbreak? So just knowing that there's these concerns and knowing that the information out there, and also just the issues on the ballot. Like, so what is State Question 802? What does that mean? And so we've really got to, as a WMS and as an AME church, really have to get in front of our members and talk to them about voting and why it's important. So what's next? This is like, so keep in mind, I also, I'm an assistant dean at a college, at a university. So I always give my students like, what's next? What do you need to do? So that's where this comes from. It's also, was always the last line on one of my favorite shows, The West Wing, which was a political show. Hence, I'm very passionate about this. So 1, complete the decennial census. So the 3 ways: online, phone, or mail. Let's get that response rate up. I would love to log in a couple of days and see Oklahoma their self-response rate has gone up. And I would like to think that's because of the 50 people on this call. Step 2, confirm your voter registration. A lot of times we think we're registered to vote, but we're not. People don't like to say it, but there are purges that happen. People do fall off the voter registration roll if you haven't voted in a certain number of elections. So just confirm that. You can actually do that online. If you are not wanting to do online, you're like, I don't want to do that, give me a call. I'll gladly type in your information and just confirm it. We can do a call tree. We can do something. Shoot me your email. I just need your name, your address, and that's it. So make sure you're registered. Make sure all the information is correct. If it is, if you haven't registered to vote, register to vote. We don't have an online system yet for Oklahoma to do that. However, you can get the forms at tag agencies, at libraries. You can also download those and send those in. So I will include the link with the slides. help others to register. We got a lot of YPD that are turning 18. We have a lot of YPD who maybe turned 18, who are turning 19 and haven't voted yet, who haven't registered because they thought when they turned 18, there was no election coming up. Get them registered. Have a registration drive at your church. Have it virtual. I would love to do a Zoom call where everyone is just, let's all register right now. Let's fill out our forms together. Take a look, update your voter registration if you've fallen off the roll. If you've fallen off, you do need to re-register. Update your address, your political affiliation. Oklahoma is a closed primary state, meaning you have to have a political affiliation to vote. They did expand it a little bit where independents could vote, but for the most part, it's closed primary. So you can't cross party lines to vote. So if you're registered as a Democrat, you can only vote for the Democrat candidates. Also, please know your polling place. If you have moved, even across the same city, you need to know where you're voting. That is key. If that polling place is closed because of COVID-19, or if it moves, you can check that online. So you can do a lot of stuff online. You can't, Oklahoma, you just can't register to vote right now. Educate yourself on the issues and decide how you vote. What is your plan? Just like I talked through with my mother today, what is your plan, Mom, for voting? What do we need to do? Let's help our churches. Let's get our members who may be sick or shut in, who don't want to go out. How can we help them? Can we, let's request absentee ballots. Talk to them about absentee ballot voting. Talk to them about early voting. Let's get together at the church, have some breakfast, and then let's all go vote. Because the key with early voting is it's not at your polling place. So you could all get in a van or in a car and drive to your county election site, do a shuttle, to have signups, something. Let's work together to ensure everyone will have the opportunity to vote. And last but not least, all steps 1 through 4 are great, but you need to actually vote. So somehow get out there and vote and help others who will need assistance. So I talked a lot about stuff. I hopefully didn't bore you, but this is information where you can find all the things you need to know about voting, the census information, the confirm or update your voter registration. We have a site on when we all vote. Of course, for the state of Oklahoma, the elections in states are overseen by the Secretary of State of that state. So you can go to these links where you can register to vote. Again, can't do it online, but you can at least find the form. You can go ahead and request those absentee ballots. There's nothing stopping you from requesting them for that June and November election. And then just information about the elections. Who's running for the House of Representatives seat for District 1? Just finding out that stuff, reading more about State Question 802. Ballotpedia is a great source. Kind of sounds like Wikipedia, but it's actually legit. So just finding out information, just informing yourself, sharing these resources. Again, this is my contact information. I am happy to talk through more. I know that I'll be speaking to Flipper Chapel and Taft one Sunday during their service, their virtual service about voting. Happy to come to your churches virtually, do this presentation, scaled down version. Don't want to take much time, but just to help everyone understand. That's part of my role in this Political Action Commission chairperson, is to help people understand what are we up against, and you add on COVID, you add on all the things. It's a lot, right? But we've got to get out and vote as a community, as a people. We definitely need to get out and vote. And so with that, I am finished. I'm going to get my list back up here and open it up to any questions anyone may have. We do have one in the chat, I see. What is the status of the effort to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, or is it just parts of it? To my understanding, it's just parts of it. And I haven't seen anything recently on the update. There's always something that they want to dismantle about the Affordable Care Act. But I will take a look at that and see where we stand on dismantling that or doing away with a lot of that. So that's a great question, Sandra. Thank you. So feel free to raise your hand if you have questions. What are some ideas you have? So if we take this information and we go forward, how do you foresee helping your churches? what else can we do? And it's a lot. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to feel obligated to come up with a plan right now. But, what can we do? I would love to have voter registration drives, keeping in line with social distancing. Again, having Zoom calls, having for members to call in and just talk more about voting and why it's important. Especially if we have members or we know people who that 138%, if we think about, so take out the presidential election, right? Let's just take that out for a second. We think about state question 802, who is that going to impact? So if it expands, if it doesn't, who are those people that would be most impacted? And they need to have a say. And so helping them to get registered to vote and to actually vote is going to be key. So feel free, raise your hands. I'm going to try and unmute all and see if that works. So if it doesn't, I'll have to mute everyone back. If you just have something you would like to say, comment. So we're going to try that now. Okay, not bad.
Okay. I have a question. This is Henrietta.
Okay. So I'm going to mute everyone. Henrietta, hang on, just unmute you.
Okay. Question.
All right, there you go. Okay.
If, for instance, because the absentee ballots, it sounds good to me. Just, just mail it in and whatever. But you said we have to fill it out online. Do it online to get the absentee ballot.
You can go request it from your county election board, or you can download it online, or there's a place online where you can fill it out online and then print it.
But the stipulation is for Oklahoma, you said it has to be notarized now.
Either notarized, yes, either notarized, or if there's a public health emergency, you can mail in a copy of some form of identification with it.
Okay. Now, say like if I had already downloaded that form and decided I wanted the absentee, but then I said, oh, I might change my mind. Let me just go on an early vote. Either or. You can't do. Okay.
Yeah. So if you never turn in your absentee ballot, you can go vote on election day or early voting. You just can't do both.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be illegal. That'd be illegal. Okay. They'll get us for sure, huh? Okay. Thank you, Linnell. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to go to Sister Davenport. You're on. I'm like a radio host. You're on right here.
Yes, I have a question, Lionel, and that is, I know how important it is to register, but can you tell me, have we done any collaboration with any other organizations to get that vote out? It's one thing to register them, but do we have any plans on how we're going to get people to the polls?
We're working on that. We don't have anything at the moment. I know Saturday, our Oklahoma Lay organization is also having a meeting to talk about to get people to the polls. I would love some sort, I feel like I've been charged with helping organize this, some sort of something to get people to the polls, whether it's I almost said vote, a bus, something to get in there. I'm a big fan of early voting because a lot of people don't really know about it. And, and it just cuts down on the stress of you only have that Tuesday. So any ideas you may have, again, like I threw out some, one is getting the information out that it's important. And then two, okay, we're going to meet at this time, or we're going to run a shuttle to get people to the early voting. And I harp on early voting because you go to one place in your county. So you don't need to know where people are, their polling places, because you do it at your county election site, which is usually down in your county seat. So maybe a little difficult if, members, I think about Tulsa County does extend to like Sperry and Owasso. And so bringing them into downtown can be done if coordinated and organized. So
the reason why, I just raised that question because when back in the day when I did a lot of that work, we collaborated. I was with the April Brandolph Institute. And so we had that type of structure. So now when I look back on that, and I'm at the age now where I am a senior, and of course I'm gonna get to the poll, I'm an early vote, but some seniors will not probably have an opportunity to early vote. So that's why I raised the question about transportation.
Yes, yes, definitely. And Sister Sandra just posted in the chat that Souls to the Polls has been implemented through some of our churches. So we just definitely got to get that out and really get that going and working through all the logistics and it's a short timeline. COVID-19 didn't help us, but it is. It's a small time frame.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, with that, Sister Fields, I'm going to turn it back over to you to close us out today. Hang on. I'm unmuting you. Hang on. Just kidding. Okay. There you go, Sister Fields.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that awesome presentation both on census and voting. Both of those are very, very important to us. The census also directs how we vote and how we elect our different persons into office. And so it's important that we take action in all of those areas. And when I asked her to add the census to her part for voters' rights, she eagerly accepted that challenge, and I thank you so much. The information was greatly needed, and we are appreciative of awesome job, just an awesome job. An awesome job from all of you all that have taken part in this Zoom meeting for the Oklahoma Conference WMS. I do so much. Just a couple of things that I wanted to reiterate. The Crown Pearls was one of the fundraising. It's still very essential that we have that program. We may end up having to do it virtually, but we must do that because that was one of the ways that we support our organization is by that fundraiser. I thank you all so much. We were able to send the $1,500 in support of the celebration for Bishop and Supervisor Mitchell, which will be heard. We'll get some more information in terms of that. I believe that celebration will also be held virtually. You received some tickets for the scholarship breakfast that our seniors will be honored at. Though that ticket money is due by the 27th of May. I know that a lot of us purchase tickets and we don't attend, and I appreciate that. Please support that effort. That is how our seniors receive the scholarships that they receive in each of our conferences. So please support the scholarship tickets. Also, I want to thank Sister Chanel for all of her work with her masks, and the Sister Jackie for your work with gathering masks and that those masks are scattered throughout the conference. I want you to keep a number. We do need to report back to our Southern District First Vice President, Sister Linda Joe, as to the number of masks that we have. I am in receipt of some 80 masks from Chanel. Some of them are for children. If you have a child and you need some, please let me know. I have distributed some, but I still have some in the box. Also, we just want to say thank you again for all of your hard work, Sister Linnell. Thank you so much, area directors, Pat and Jackie, Sister Chanel, Second Vice President, Sister Mion, all of you all. Thank you again so much. I pray that you all will have a good rest of your week, and may God continue to bless and keep you all is my prayer. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.